This video is sponsored by strawberry.me.
Today, it's all about mac and cheese. What might seem like a simple classic side dish has turned into all-out warfare on the internet. Today, we're settling the #1 debate. Should you use a roux for your mac and cheese or should you use egg? Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. For the purposes of this experiment today, we're gonna be ranking each mac and cheese on the basis of flavor, presentation, and texture. So which one's creamy, gives that good cheese pull, which one tastes the best, and of course, which one looks the best. All right, guys, so some less controversial stuff than egg versus roux. You have to choose your pasta shape. So you can use elbow, which is traditional, very common, or you can do like we're doing today and use cavatappi. I like cavatappi because one, it looks a little bit fancier in terms of presentation. They're spiral in shape, and it kind of, the sauce just sticks to them a little bit better. One of my favorite ways to make mac and cheese. So we're using cavatappi, but this recipe works great for whatever pasta shape you decide to use. Now, when it comes time to cook this pasta, you want to make sure that you add some flavor to the pasta. So you can either just salt the pasta water, you can boil the pasta in chicken broth, or you can add some chicken bouillon powder to regular water, which is what we're doing today. Either way, at the very least, you want to make sure you salt that pasta water. Now, no matter what style mac and cheese you decide to make, it's very important that you select the proper cheeses for your recipe. For me, I want to make sure that my cheese selection is well balanced, whether you use 3 cheeses or 6. You want to make sure that you don't have multiple of the same flavor profile. So you don't want to have like 2 or 3 different sharp cheeses. You don't want to have 3 mild cheeses because you're not going to have any flavor. You want to have one from each flavor profile. For me, I got sharp cheddar right here, which is classic mac and cheese flavor. We got Colby Jack, which is a little bit milder and it melts beautifully. For me, that is the absolute best cheese to put on top of your mac and cheese before it goes in the oven for that beautiful, topping and cheese pull. Next, I want something with a little salt, so I'm going with Parmesan. We got smoked Gouda to add some smoky flavor. If you don't like the smoky flavor in your mac and cheese, you can switch this out for like Monterey Jack or something else, or just, we don't need to have 5 cheeses. And then last but not least, we have something that's kind of like a foundational cheese. It's not big on flavor, but it's gonna have a good texture, help with that creaminess and the cheese pull. And that, my friends, is mozzarella. Those are the cheeses we're going with today, regardless if you're making it with egg, roux, or neither. You wanna have a good balanced cheese selection.
And today's episode is sponsored by strawberry.me. Now, if you've been following me on social media or YouTube for any length of time, you know that earlier this year, I opened my very first restaurant. Now, I know that's very exciting to a lot of people. For me, it was super stressful. It came at a time in my career where I felt a little burnt out and honestly unsure of which move or which decision I should make to really move the needle in my career. That's why I tried career coaching with strawberry.me. Getting started was shockingly easy. I answered a quick quiz, got matched with a certified coach, and booked my first virtual session that same week. Sessions fit right into my busy schedule, and the whole membership is designed to work with a busy life. No travel, just real work you can do from anywhere. And what I love the most is my coach didn't tell me what to do. They actually partnered with me to build a personalized plan I could follow. My coach really did a great job of keeping me accountable, keeping me on track, and just helping me make some real tough life decisions. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start planning, visit strawberry.me/Mr. Make It Happen and claim your special offer. That's strawberry.me/Mr. Make It Happen. Scan the QR code on your screen or hit the link in the description to get matched with a certified career coach. Don't wait while you're thinking someone is making a plan. Go to strawberry.me/Mr. Make It Happen right now and take control of your next step.
First up, we're getting the party started with the roux-based mac and cheese. For a roux, is butter and flour or fat and flour. For gumbo, it would be oil, but for the purposes of a cheese sauce like this, is butter. Half a stick of butter, 2 to 3 tablespoons of flour. The more flour you use, the thicker your cheese sauce is going to be. So that's just something to think about. But yeah, you can't go wrong. This is how I started. When I very first started making mac and cheese, I was an egg guy. I used the egg because that's how I learned how to make mac and cheese with egg. Then I transitioned into roux, and most recently, ever since I opened my restaurant, I don't use either. That might be a recipe video for another day, or just come check my restaurant out in Washington, D.C. All right, so we're gonna melt this butter. Once the butter is melted, we're working over medium heat right now. Once the butter is melted, we're gonna work in the flour to effectively make a roux. It's gonna be a blonde roux. I'm gonna let the butter melt a little bit longer. It's gonna be a blonde roux, basically like a bechamel before you add the cheese. Once you add the cheese, it turns into basically a Mornay sauce. For my folks out there that are into the French culinary cuisine or culinary school. All right, so whisk in the flour right into that butter. And then we're gonna let that cook for a minute or two. You wanna cook off the raw flour taste. You don't want it to taste like flour per se. You wanna kind of toast it, gives it like a nuttiness. Then once you achieve that, and it turns into a blonde roux, we're gonna add in our cream. Once you get the cream in there, bring it up to a boil, then reduce that down to a simmer, add in the cheeses of your choice, season to taste, and you got your cheese sauce. Roux based, very easy, no curdling of the eggs, really hard to mess up. People think that a roux based mac and cheese is more difficult, but in reality, the egg based mac and cheese is a little bit more difficult to me because I feel like people tend to cook their egg before it goes in the oven, like it curdles a little bit. All right, so what I like to do before I add the cream is to season the roux. That does a couple things. It kind of wakes up the spices a little bit, enhances the flavor, in my opinion. And then we're gonna go in with our half and half. You use heavy cream or whole milk. The creamier option is gonna be thicker, so I like to go somewhere in between, like half and half. Just gonna whisk that in about 3 cups. Bring that up to a boil and then reduce it down to a simmer and then add our cheese. One important pro tip is to not add your cheese when the cream is boiling, because then you run the risk of the fat separating from the cheese and you get an oily mac and cheese. So you want to add the cheese to the cream mixture at a lower temperature. All right guys, so as it's coming up to a boil, I like to add in a little cream cheese. I do that with pretty much any mac and cheese recipe because it adds great texture, creaminess, kind of makes the sauce a little more cohesive. We got that in there, it's melted, it's mixed. Now I kill the heat or put it on super low and then begin adding my cheeses. I'm gonna start with the Parmesan because that's the highest, salt content of all the cheeses. You wanna taste as you go. Don't get too crazy with the seasoning initially because once it's in there, you can't take it out, but you could always add a little bit more later. In goes the Parm. Then we're going with our base cheese we talked about earlier. That's mild, but has great texture, creaminess. Going in with the mozzarella. Then a little bit of the smoked Gouda. Remember guys, it's smoky, a little bit goes a long way. Same thing for the Parmesan, it's kind of salty and a little bit goes a long way. You can go heavier on the mild stuff, like mozzarella, Colby Jack, even cheddar. Cheddar's not gonna, if you get too much cheddar in there, it's really not gonna ruin anything. But if you put too much smoked Gouda in there, it might be too smoky. Then we're going in with the cheddar cheese. And I saved the Colby Jack for the topping. Taste as you go, adjust the flavor to your preference. You can add more seasoning at this point if you want to. As you can see, you have a beautiful cheese sauce working here. It's nice and thick. Should render a good cheese pull. But you want to mix that until all the cheese is melted in nicely. I can smell that Gouda already. The cheddar's adding that beautiful color. Quick reminder guys, if you want step-by-step written directions for each of these recipes that you see on this channel, visit MrMakeItHappen.com. All right guys, next up, make some noise for the egg team when it comes to mac and cheese. If you get on the internet, you would think this is like a religion, the way people argue about it. We're going in with a half a stick of butter and then our cream mixture, whether it's heavy cream, milk, or half and half. Again, the more thicker the consistency is gonna be. Essentially, when you're using an egg in a recipe like this, you're making a custard. And one of the downfalls that I see a lot is cooking the egg, or basically curdling the egg prior to it going into the oven. That's gonna mess up the consistency and basically everything you're trying to achieve when you're using an egg in a recipe like this. The key to that is to temper the egg, which basically means adding a little bit of warm liquid to the egg so that it works itself into the mixture and it won't curdle. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. We're gonna get the butter going first. I got a very oily hand here. Butter's going, then we're going in with our cream. We're gonna bring this up to a simmer, not a boil. You don't want it to be too hot. You want it to be around, not to get too scientific, but you want it to be around 150 to 160 degrees. So it's warm, but it's not close to boiling. And then you're gonna add that to your egg, mix that together, and then add that back to this. Now that makes sure that your egg doesn't curdle. And then when somebody's watching you at home for Thanksgiving, make this, you can drop some knowledge on them, sound like you know what you're doing. All right, guys, so we're keeping it the same as the other recipe, same cheese, same seasoning. The only difference is the addition of the egg in place of the roux. We're gonna go ahead and melt that cream cheese, add in our seasoning, and the same cheese blend as the previous recipe. As always, guys, taste as you go, adjust the flavor to your preference. And if you need the specific written directions, they're for you on my website. All right, guys, time for the moment of truth. We have the egg mac and cheese up first. To be honest, neither one of them gave me the best cheese pull in the world. I think it's because they're a little bit too hot. For the most picture or photo worthy cheese pull, you want to allow it to cool, and I should know that. But now it's pulling a little bit better now that it's on the plate. As you guys can see, nice and cheesy. It is cooled down a little bit. Let's see which one tastes the best. That smoked Gouda's coming through nicely. It's not gritty. I think my beef with the egg mac and cheese sometimes it comes out gritty, and that's usually because the egg is curdled. It's pretty good. It's maybe a slight bit of grittiness, but it's good. That's good. Moving on to the roux based mac and cheese. The color is a little bit different, which is interesting. Maybe from toasting the flour, or not quite sure, because they baked at the exact same temperature for the exact same amount of time in the oven. I will say the color to me visually is a little bit better. The cheese pull is probably a little bit better on the egg version. So let's see which one tastes the best. Oh, pretty cheesy though. See, mac and cheese is tough because it's like everybody's got their own opinion. And I guess this is about my opinion, right? So I'm going to go with the roux version. More enjoyable texture. I get a little bit of the nuttiness from the flour being toasted in the roux, which plays well with the cheese. It's great.